Hi, this is Sky Perry with SSP Innovations, and I'm here to show you a kind of cool demo we've put together recently around telecom data collection in the field and how you can utilize that data in the back office. So we're going to start off our demo today from my iPad, as you see here. And I'm going to be firing up Collector for ArcGIS. As you can see, it's logged into my organization. We're going to be working with this map in the upper left called Telecom Data Collection. Now, as I load this is a real-time map that is being loaded using ArcGIS Server in the back office. So again, my data is securely kept on my geodatabase in the back office. And the data we're seeing here, my telecom data, is actually authoritative data maintained in my back office outside plant management software. So as I zoom in, just as an example, I can reference in and click on some of this data and see some details. So if I click on that splice, I can see information about the splice case itself. I can see information about the individual fiber optics. Looks like we have some 144 count, then also a 96 count that's tapping off, sort of headed down south from there. So this is authoritative data. I don't have my fiber strand level connectivity, but I have a good reference map for me to be able to use in the field. So that brings us to our use case today. We're going to do some simple digitizing in the field using some patterns we've created here within Collector to bring bring data in from the field that can then be used to draw the actual authoritative data into the GIS within the back office. Now, most of the time we don't want field users editing the authoritative data, and this is a great pattern for that because we're able to collect using specific collection classes in the field that are not directly related to the back office authoritative layers. So we have those distinctly separate, but again, they're all maintained in the back office, and I'm using ArcGIS Online and Collector here to access those via a published REST endpoint off my ArcGIS server. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in here. As you can see here on my collection pane, I've got a number of different things that I've exposed here, quite a number of feature services that I can collect with. We're basically going to go in and expose out some data or collect some data along this highway here, moving out to a new camera point that we're going to install here just to the east of us. So the first point we want to do is go ahead and tap in off of this splice point that you see here. And this is a 144 count backbone, but we're going to drop in a 12 count underground lateral here. So we'll go ahead and name this cable the highway extension 1. And we can collect any other attributes we have configured. And that's probably good for now. I should note that if we had things like foot stamps we were able to collect in the field, we could absolutely do that here too. 1501 as an example as a starting foot stamp. An ending foot stamp is maybe 3500. For fiber folks, you're very familiar with this. For others, it's really just a way of collecting markings on the actual sheath of the cable as it's being installed or read in the ground, and that helps us to get exact lengths of the cable. So with that, I can now go in and zoom in as far as I need to, but I'm going to basically tap into this existing splice, head over here toward the highway, and we'll kind of digitize along the highway here. And we're going to get over to our first point here. And we'll go ahead and finish this off and submit it in. So that actually submits it back. You see it creates the feature actually interactively on the map. But again, it's been saved all the way back to the back office geodatabase in this case. So at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and reference in and add a splice point to the end of our cable here. And once again, I can add in some additional information about the splice case itself, perhaps change the owner, you get the idea, manufacturer, etc. Place that in there. And one of the other interesting things we might do is to enable, again, attachments or pictures to our points that we're collecting in the field. So if I was going to do that, I could actually come in and click the attachment button here and click add. And I'm not actually out in the field, of course. I'm in my office, but I've got some pictures I've saved off that we could use for this occasion. So we could add this splice picture if I'd taken that picture in the field. And as we go ahead and save that off, you can see that splice case is sent. Now just to drive that point home, if I select that splice case, I can see all the detail, including the attachment picture that is now available and associated directly with that record. So this is available in the field, but also available to users in the back office who might be watching or tracking my progress as I collect this data. So we're going to continue on. We're going to go ahead and add in a continued 12 count underground cable off of this splice point. And we're going to go ahead and follow along the highway a little bit further here. If I was out walking this route in the field, I could be using my GPS to follow along and just collecting points as I walk it or drive it. Of course, I'm in the back office right now, so not quite that fancy. We'll call this one Highway Extension 2. Put that in, and we'll just put in the drop information to keep it kind of simple there. And just that quickly, we've now added in an additional component there. If we needed to come in here and add things like slack loops, which would be very common here, we can grab a fiber slack loop and maybe put in 50 feet of length on either side. Easy to do that. Storage type will make it a coil. And we could be dropping that in on or around, usually adjacent to the actual splice point. And we might do that on one or even both sides. So kind of typical case. We'll have a 50-foot coil in an underground setting on either side of the splice. So just a quick way to digitize those in. So what we're going to do now is actually drop in a device point here to represent the camera. So what we're going to do off of that 12 count is actually take a 2 count underground. And this is just going to be for camera 1. Put that in there. Make this a drop as well. So what we'll do here is just tap off of that existing splice point. And we'll drop this in here just a little bit further south near the actual highway. So with that, we'll submit that 2 count in. You can see that record created. And finally, we want to drop a device point in to represent the camera. So I'll come back up, grab a device point, and we'll just note this is camera number 1. Put that in there. And again, we'll drop that here at the endpoint. Submit that in. One other point, the same concept with attachments. Maybe I have a picture of that beautiful traffic camera. So I'll go ahead and put that in and submit that record into the back office. So just that quickly, we've digitized quite a bit. Some of the other details I might want to capture from the field to take to the back office, especially in a telecom setting, would be some information, some field notes that I might track to give me some information about splicing details in the back office. So what we have is a simple field notes feature, and I will drop that here near the splice and just type in whatever I need to type in. So in this case, we might want to say splice the 1/2 directly over to the 1/2. So this is just saying my first 2 strands coming off of that 12 count will go to the 1 and 2 strands on that lateral. So we can put that in and go ahead and submit that in. That's saved there and shown there as a question mark. And we probably want to put some similar notes in for our actual tap off of this splice here. So as I look at this in the field, I'm going to add another field notes here to indicate what's going on. We'll put it in the vicinity there. In this case, we're tapping off 144 count. So we're actually going to note to disconnect the 12th buffer tube from the north cable and splice to the lateral. So this could be as detailed or as simple as you want it to be, but we're capturing information we'll use in the back office. So we'll click done and submit that record in. So we've done a very quick job here, a very quick digitization that we might have walked in the field. The last piece I might want to actually include here would be a way to indicate the area I've worked in, if this is a particular work order or maybe it's just a particular day that I've collected this data in. So we've used this feature called collection area. So if I do this, I can name this, let's say if it was a work order, I'll name it work order 1, 2, 3. I can put in additional notes here if needed, and then just draw a very simple polygon boxing in the area of work on the map. Submit that in. And just that easily, I've now digitized new fiber installation here with the splice in the middle, as well as the new device point as the traffic camera. So that'll kind of wrap up the field portion of this, and we'll transition now to the back office. All right, so I've connected back into the back office now. I've opened up the same web map that I utilized in the field, but of course now I'm utilizing the same map here inside of ArcGIS Online, which is in the browser. And again, I kind of mentioned that as that data is being collected in the field and it's transmitting those new collected features back to the office, that data is available in the back office real time and to other users in the field so you can see the progress occurring. So I haven't refreshed the map, but I'm simply just going to drag over to the area we're working in, and you'll see that data from the field is now available. So let me just zoom in a little bit here. And we can see a number of different things, including the field notes. I can certainly see the work order 1, 2, 3 polygon coming in. And even if I go down in here to the details of this record, I can see specific information about the field notes. I can see specific information about the splices, even including those attachments that were taken from the field. So any pictures that were taken are available to me in the back office very easily. So again, web browser, and I could be in the office, I could be at home, wherever I am, accessing the same data. So just some different ways to access the data, all made possible by ArcGIS Online, making this data available across the platform, the Esri platform. So just a quick point there. What I'm going to do now is actually flip over to a back office GIS ArcMap desktop, and this is where we'll actually do our editing and reference that data in. So once again, I've referenced in, I've got my authoritative data here on the map, and all I'm going to do is turn on and off and refresh this Telecom collection layer, and you'll see that area again on the same map comes in here on the upper right. So I very easily know the information that I need to use for this area. As I zoom in here, I can see the polygon, and I would go ahead and just show some representations of these features here as we zoom in a little bit further. Very much like the web browser, I've configured my HTML pop-up out of the box to just display some of the details, including those pictures, including any attribute details, and or whatever we have available to us. So you can see those information readily available, showing the same data across the platform, and that's all in real time that data is communicated to the back office. So of course my job here is not to just look at the data, but I actually want to be digitizing this information in. So I can see here from my annotation, work order 1, 2, 3. And what I want to do now is actually create a new session in the back office to go ahead and create a new actual implementation of the back office connected outside plant management, fiber management tools to take that field collected into simple features and transition it to the back office. So what I'll do is create a brand new session here, and we're just going to name this work order 1, 2, 3 to match. Go ahead and mark this as a telecom session. And we're going to go and open this edit session for editing. Now notice I do have two workspaces, my ArcGIS Online layers, which are coming in real time, and my back office default. So I'll use my back office default for the actual editing I'm going to persist. All right, so now we're into an edit version in the back office. So we're going to go ahead and start here, and I'll pan over to the tap location, and we'll zoom in here. All right, so what I can tell you is that we are able to select these two different features, and if I select this field collected layer, the fiber optic cable, you can see I have all the information collected from the field. If I expand that out, notice I don't have any additional detail. I don't have the buffer tubes or the strands that I would typically have in an OSP model in my back office. If I select my existing backbone, these do have that additional data, showing they have the actual fiber optic cable. That's what we're seeing on the map there. But I also have the individual buffer tubes and the fiber strands. So that's our goal, is to take this field collected simple data and turn it into the back office authoritative data. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and look at the individual records here. Highway extension number 1, it's a 12 count. So what we'll do now is actually use our fiber favorites here that are pre-formed for us in the system. Fiber optic cable, and I'm going to grab a 12 count, and that'll send it over to my targets tab. I'll make a few changes here. We'll type in a name. I could certainly copy and paste it, but I'll just type it in for now. It's a 12 count, and we did note that it is an underground. Additional information I could put in, including the foot stamps, etc., if I wanted to take those steps. Now, to be clear, when I put this record in, I haven't drawn it on the map yet, but when I put it in, it is going to create a single buffer tube and 12 related fiber strands. And that's, again, happening in the behind-the-scenes software with this feature favorite. And I'm going to grab this and go ahead and notice my snapping is engaged directly. I'm going to snap right into that splice point. And I can absolutely come and click into these individual vertices and sort of follow along, where I can use some advanced out-of-the-box functionality from Esri called the trace tool. Now, as I use the trace tool, notice it's automatically just going to trace right along that digitized line. And I can pretty much follow along with this line. Notice I can trace right along this line without doing much digitization work at all. Zoom out just a little bit, get some more screen real estate here. We're covering quite a bit of area here too, to be noted. I'm going to go and double click to finish here at the splice point. So cleared and created that line. And if I wanted to double check that, by the way, I could obviously come in here and turn off my telco collection layers. I can see there is that new fiber optic line drawn into the back office geodatabase. So let's go ahead and continue this use case. I'm going to drop in a splice point here, and we'll drop in a splice case. I could certainly put a name in, a location description, or leave it just blank like that. Snap that right in. And then we'll continue on with our 12 count follow along our field sketch. We'll call it highway extension number 2. So as I go in there, we'll use snapping again, and then we will again use our trace tool and follow right along the highway here. Terminating here, I'll double click to finish. So again, if the sketch went on, I could obviously add more features, but that'll work well for now. Now we want to go back and sort of focus in on this detail section here. I do have some more information here. I'd want to double check this smaller line here and take some notification. This is my field collected line. It's a 2 count named camera 1. So again, we'll kind of do the same components here. We'll go to fiber optic cable, grab a 2 count, and we'll call this camera 1. And we are doing underground, so we'll flip over to underground here. Leave the rest of the information for now. We'll snap in and drop that smaller lateral in. And then finally, we do need to digitize that device point as well. In this case, I'll use a media converter, but we're going to go and rename it to camera number 1. And we'll snap that right in. So now with those few small edits there, if I go in and just toggle off my telco collection layers, you can note I've got all the actual digitized fiber just that quickly, but I've utilized it from the field, ideally with my GPS coordinates fueling that field collection. So I'm going to go ahead and do some splicing now, and to do that I'm going to use my field notes. So take a look at this field notes, and it notes that we're going to splice the 1 and 2 strands to the number 1 and 2 strands on the lateral. The rest should go across, would be the implication there. And I'll go and use my fiber manager, connection manager, to do that. So as I click that, I'm going to go ahead and organize this kind of the way I want to see it. So I see on the left is my yellow. You see the yellow line coming in. On the right is my pink. That is my lateral. So I can take number 1 and number 2 and connect those directly across to 1 and 2. I could also click Auto Connect. Apply that. Now I want to splice the remaining fibers to continue on. So I'm going to go ahead and grab number 2. You can see the colors change up on the map. And I will auto connect the remaining strands directly across. So I'll apply that change. Next splicing component is that I want to go ahead and drop it in on the actual device point here. And I'll just auto connect these, taking the 2 strands and connecting them into ports number 1 and 2 on that media converter. So as I do that, we've now gone ahead and connected in all of the new features. But the one piece we haven't addressed yet is actually connecting in our new 12 count lateral into the 144 count backbone. So I'm just going to zoom in here to this splice location. We'll once again use our field notes to gather some information about what's really going on there in the field. And again, it says disconnect the 12th buffer tube from the north cable and splice it to the lateral. So pretty clear instructions there. We'll fire it off for this existing splice here. And again, we want to take the 12th buffer tube from the existing connection, the yellow to the pink. And we want to go ahead and disconnect those. So we'll apply that change. And then we want to take the northbound cable, again the yellow one here, and we're going to connect that over to our new highway extension 1 lateral, that full buffer tube. And we'll connect it over to the straight across lateral 12 count that we just installed. Apply that change and we're in good shape. So with those few splicing changes, we'll go ahead and we probably want to test our connectivity here. So we're going to scroll back to our device port here, which is really the most important one here. And we want to run a trace basically testing this device port to make sure it's connected into the larger network. So we'll just go down to device port 1 and we'll trace that selected item. Now we've got a trace report here, plenty of good information there around distances and wavelength loss values for both 1515 and 1310. But I'm really more interested here about my connectivity. So I'll just go ahead and do a zoom to selected features. And it looks very good. So where I can tell you is that up in this upper right is where we actually put the new device in, and this connects back into our new lateral and traces back around all the way around the backbone down to our network operations center on the south side. So that's a pretty good check there for the connectivity to ensure that our splicing has gone and been made correctly. So our last point here that we might want to do is to clean up some of our telecom features. So as I zoom out, and I can show this overall area, and in fact, I could even turn off my fiber, and this just shows the collection features there. If I wanted to be able to go ahead and remove these automatically, we've built just a very small tool here to go and remove those those features from ArcGIS Online. So what I'll do is actually go in and I'm going to make my collection area here selectable. Select that area, and we've just built a tool here that will confirm, do you want to remove these? And again, I could archive these for sure, maybe toggle a status on them to make them not visible. But in our case, we're going to go ahead and delete the collected features from ArcGIS Online because we no longer need them because I've now built them into the back office. So I'll select yes, and we'll go ahead and continue there. And you notice those features are gone, leaving me with my as-built fiber layers. So just that quickly, I've kind of shown how we can take some collected features from the field, bring those back in through ArcGIS Online and use that as an input to our authoritative data, where we're not only building splicing, but we're digitizing the fiber optic cable, the buffer tubes, and the individual fiber strands. So creating that true OSP model in the back office, driven by field collection, empowered by the Esri platform. I hope this inspires some ideas, and thank you for your time.